Mesdames, Messieurs, bonjour. Bienvenue à Softball City pour la présentation du championnat international de softball de la Coupe Canada 2024 et à ce match de finale consolation entre l'équipe de la Nouvelle-Zélande et l'équipe du Taipei chinois. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Softball City for the 2024 Canada Cup International Softball Championship consolation final game between Team New Zealand and Team Chinese Taipei. Voici la présentation de l'équipe visiteur pour ce match. Here's the visiting team for this game. Team New Zealand. Avant première, option de droite, numéro 22. Batting first, playing right field. Number 22, Beth Reed. Au deuxième rang, jouant deuxième but, numéro 32. Batting second, playing second base. Number 32, Kiri Winiata Enoka. Avant troisième, la joueuse désignée numéro 9. Batting third, designated player number 19, Alice Potter. Au quatrième, receveur numéro 23, batting fourth, catcher number 23, Emma Francis. Au cinquième rang, avec tour numéro 15, batting fifth, shortstop number 15, Denva Shaw Tate. Au sixième, jouant premier but numéro 20, batting sixth, on first base, number 20, Lucy McIntyre. Au septième rang, jouant troisième but numéro 31, batting seventh, playing third base, number 31, Lace Tatriano. En huitième, votre sur le gauche, numéro 34, batting eighth, left fielder number 34, Ruby Nola. Au neuvième rang, votre sur le centre, numéro 26, batting ninth, center fielder number 26, Stella Jorgensen. En position flex, lanceur partant numéro 24, in the flex position, starting pitcher number 24, Amy Beck. Les substituts, the alternates, numéro 18, number 18, Pania Monk. Numéro 33, number 33, Brittany Terry. Numéro 11, number 11, Lauren Parker. Numéro 1, number 1, Charlotte Graham. Numéro 10, number 10, Utila Tabiti. Numéro 8, number 8, Kiara Taimai. Numéro 12, number 12, Ocean Matthews. Numéro 2, number 2, Erin Blackmore. Déposé au bâton, Batgirl, Shyla Brooke. Team New Zealand. Voici l'équipe locale pour ce match. Here's the home team for this game, Chinese Taipei. Comme en première, voiture de centre, numéro 10. Batting first, center fielder number 10, Chan King N. En deuxième, voiture de gauche, numéro 17. Batting second, playing left field, number 17, Pierre Poirier. En troisième, receveur numéro 5, batting third, catcher number 5, Lim Chi-Yun. Au quatrième rang, jouant en deuxième but, numéro 23, batting fourth, playing second base, number 23, Gao Pei-Jun. En cinquième, jouant premier but, numéro 24, batting fifth, playing first base, number 24, Wang Wen-Swan. En sixième, joueuse désignée numéro 19, batting sixth, designated player number 19, Liao Pao Xiu. En cinquième, jouant troisième but, numéro 12, batting seventh, playing third base, number 12, Deng Yu Zheng. Au huitième rang, votre de droite, numéro 16, batting eighth, playing right field, number 16, Wang Yu Yan. Avant neuvième, l'arrêt court numéro 9, batting ninth, shortstop number 9, Chen Shi-Yen. Position flex lanceur numéro 1, the flex position pitcher number 1, Pan Yu-Ling. Les substituts, the alternatives, numéro 14, number 14, Chen Qing-Yu. Numéro 22, number 22, Li Min-Swan. Numéro 6, number 6, Wu Pei-Yi. Numéro 3, number 3, Chan Yin-Swan. Numéro 13, number 13, Chu Yi-Chan. Numéro 30, number 31, Wu Bin-Wei. Numéro 7, number 7, Chong Yi-Yung. Déposé au bâton, Batgirl, Emma Chadwick.
No quería estar con José Gabriel porque era muy ladilla. Que qué bueno que a Sofía le gusta salir con su hermana.
Les arbitres pour ce match, the officials at this game. Au mound, at home plate, Susan Stafford. Au premier but at first base, Michael Young. Au deuxième but at second base, Mitchell Zook. Au troisième but at third base, Wojtek Machowski. Mesdames, Messieurs, vous pouvez maintenant vous lever si vous en êtes capable de retirer chapeaux et casquettes pour les hymnes nationaux de la Nouvelle-Zélande et du Taipei chinois. Ladies and gentlemen, please now rise, remove your hats and caps for the national anthems of New Zealand and Chinese Taipei.
¿Verdad?
Good morning and welcome to the final day of the 2024 Canada Cup of Softball. This evening, we'll crown the tournament champion. In our first game of the day, we will decide who the consolation event winner is on another glorious day in Surrey, British Columbia, Softball City. It is the consolation event final between Chinese Taipei and New Zealand. The consolation final was for the 4 teams that did not advance to the playoffs. And here is the always entertaining traditional hockey dance.
Eso con el teléfono, pero no puedo sentar la cámara. No, pero baja. ¿Cuál? No, está en el teléfono. Muy bueno.
In all of New Zealand national team sports, the hockey dance. As New Zealand set to take on Chinese Taipei in the consolation event final. 12 teams started the Canada Cup Women's Tournament in hopes of winning the big prize, the tournament championship. As I started to get into just a little bit, these 2 teams did not qualify for the playoffs. You had to finish in the top 8, top 4 in each pool in order to do that. So Chinese Taipei, even though the scoreboard would indicate otherwise, would appear to be the home team. And New Zealand will bat first. They both have a record of 2-4, and both with consolation round convincing wins in their games versus Hong Kong, China, and and Greece to play for 9th place. That is what's on the line really today. And for Chinese Taipei, they give the ball to number 1, Pan Yu Ling. He saw the defense in behind her. And this is the first meeting in the tournament of these 2 countries. They were in different pools during the round-robin play. And we are about set to begin on this beautiful Sunday. Still to come, semifinal, Triple Crown, Colorado and Mexico. And to the winner, a date with Canada, who downed Triple Crown Colorado in a battle of teams with perfect 6-0 records, 6-3 in a highly entertaining game here last night. Canada with 5 runs in the top of the 6th, including a C.C. Wong dramatic grand slam homer to center field, propelled them into the title game. Chinese Taipei, as the leadoff batter, is Beth Reed. She's playing today in right field. Chinese Taipei, usually the number 3 team in Asia, behind, obviously, Olympic champion Japan and China. Those other 2 aforementioned countries, they will participate in the upcoming World Cup, which begins on July 15th in Italy. Chinese Taipei has brought a very young team. They left their number one pitcher at home, and certainly in terms of this tournament, even when I compare the group that they made their way overseas with to Canada in 2022, this team not to that same level. They've left a lot of their key regular international world-class players at home, going with a much younger team. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Beth Reed, as we're just underway in this consolation final. Beth is a 22-year-old from Auckland. She's 5 for 13 in the Canada Cup with 4 runs batted in, all of them in their last 3 games, and had a couple of hits on Friday in their consolation round win over Hong Kong, China. And the count goes full on Beth Reed. She played for her country in the 2019 U19 Worlds, now the U18 World Cup, as they change the age category. Change up, swung on and missed. And a strikeout for the starter, Pan Yu Ling. Both of these teams went 1-4 in the round-robin portion of the regular tournament before winning Friday in the consolation round. It's Kiri Winyata Inoka. She's playing at second base today. Where's number 32? Hit down the line and a fair ball. Winyata Inoka didn't even look at the coach. And while his hand was up, her head was down. And it doesn't happen all that often, but she made the right decision. I watched her all the way around the base pass. Doesn't even look at the coach until right there. And she has a 1-out triple. And New Zealand with the game's first run in scoring position. For all-star designated player Palace Potter, the 24-year-old from Hutt Valley. And she cashes in her 6th run of this Canada Cup on her 9th hit. First pitch from Pan Yu Ling up the middle, as Potter shows you why she was named the All-Star team. The All-Stars all derive from what happened in a 5-game round-robin part of this competition. So New Zealand is on the board. And here's the catcher, Emma Francis. She's 29 years of age from Wellington, 3 for 14 so far in this Canada Cup. New Zealand did participate in a World Cup qualifying event, the same event in which Canada, Italy, and Japan participated in Italy last summer, and she is hit with what looked to be a changeup, and the home plate umpire racing to make sure there is no controversy. And there's been very little of that here all week long. Tournament started on Monday afternoon, and we'll wrap up with the title game, hoping for a huge crowd. Canada in their last game, trying to win the title. And it's something they haven't done for a while. Emma Francis hit by a pitch and an early conversation involving head coach of Chinese Taipei, Lin Pei-chun, trying to settle down his group early. And this meeting's lasting long enough for the home plate umpire to break it up. And it's not about the pitcher, it's You can see the fingers out, pointing at everybody. And in that culture, there's usually no lack of telling it the way it is, I find, and I've experienced. Certainly by watching, not by being part of the group. Shortstop is Denva Shaw Tate. She's from Lower Hutt and is 5 for 13 at this Canada Cup, and she'll drop down a one-out bunt, fielded, and the play is made by Wang Wen Xuan, the first baseman. So the sacrifice as New Zealand, even with one out, looking for more as Potter makes her way to third. First baseman for New Zealand and the number 6 batter in the lineup is Lucy McIntyre. She's from Canterbury. One hit in the tournament. It came in their consolation round win over Greece. She was 8 for 25 in the New Zealand National Championships earlier this year. Batted .320, doubled, homered, and drove in 3. She participated when New Zealand was here for the 2019 Canada Cup. Looking to add to her country's advantage early in this game, the consolation final to decide 9th place. And the changeup misses up and away. 2 balls, no strikes. It is going to be a very hot, steamy day. It is 24 degrees already. Supposed to reach in the neighborhood of 30 before the late afternoon is over. As it's gotten warmer and warmer every day starting on Thursday. The weather's been fantastic. No rainouts. Really not even a threat of rain outside of day number 2, where it was cloudy in the morning and then cleared off late in the afternoon. So you can't order it up much better. 3 balls and a strike to Lucy McIntyre. And again, hats off to Chairman Greg Tim, his right-hand woman, Carla Reed, and the more than 600 volunteers who put on such a marvelous show. McIntyre has a chance and delivers. On her way to second with a run batted in and a double for Lucy McIntyre. Just her second hit of the Canada Cup. As the fly ball eludes the right fielder, Wang Yu Yen. And New Zealand has now scored 3 times. Lace Tarniarno, the third baseman. Tarniarnar, very difficult to say if you are not from that part of the world. I guess a lot like Loubardius is very tough for those of you who aren't Greek or from this part of the world. And Lace hits it hard, but this time the right fielder Wang Yu Yen has an answer. Great start for New Zealand. 3 hits, 3 runs. Chinese Taipei coming to the bat for the first time in this consolation event final.
Welcome to the 2024 Canada Cup, brought to you by the Canadian Amateur Sports Society. Our not-for-profit organization is dedicated to ensuring that every deserving child can fully enjoy multi-day sports camps without any limitations. Join us in making a difference. Sign up for these life-changing camps or become a sponsor today. Together, let's celebrate the unifying power of sport. Visit CanadaCup.com to learn.
A 3-run lead for pitcher Amy Begg as hats, glasses, sunscreen, needed products at the ballpark today. And what a ballpark and what a facility it is here at Softball City. There is the lineup that the starter, Amy Begg, will face. And leading off is Chinese Taipei's all-star center fielder, Chiang Ting-en, who has batted .500 this week with 10 hits. Amy Begg, 27 years of age. She's from Christchurch, New Zealand. She's thrown 12 innings at this Canada Cup. She's 2-0, given up 3 runs on 11 hits, struck out 15, and walked 2. She pitched 4 innings in the win over Greece, gave up 1 run, 4 hits, and struck out 5. So New Zealand makes the most of their 3 hits. New Zealand with a consolation win over Greece, 11-1. Chinese Taipei, a game that went late last night, down Hong Kong, China in their consolation event semifinal. And here is center fielder Chiang Ting-en, and takes a ball on the outside from Amy Begg. Chiang Ting-en, 10 for 20 with a double and a run batted in. She has 7 hits in her last 3 games. 3 against Hong Kong, China, 3 versus Greece on Friday. A ball and a strike from Amy Begg. As New Zealand and Chinese Taipei both went 1-4 during the round robin. Up and in, well out of the strike zone. Begg did not pitch, according to my research, at the World Cup qualifier last summer. And the pitch is up and away one more time as she struggles to find her rhythm. And that's quite normal. It's never easy for almost any pitcher early in a game to lock themselves in, but it's always necessary. And she's locked in enough to deliver a strike to Chiang Ting-en. Chiang Ting-en was 2 for 10 in a World Cup qualifier last summer. They participated in the 6-team event in Ireland, and Lace Tarniarnar in the right place to deal with the line drive off the bat of Chiang Ting-en. And here's Ya Kui-ping, the left fielder. She's had a solid tournament. She's 7 for 21. Tripled, 3 runs batted in. And showing bunt. But for so many batters here, that's just a starting point, a timing mechanism to put themselves in a position to feel comfortable about what they see and then into the routine of pulling the bat back and truly being ready for the pitch. Ball and a strike. Well hit. And a nice contingent of Chinese Taiwan supporters and even a contingent from New Zealand. One of the great softball countries in the world. New Zealand is more so known for what happens in their men's program. And the Black Sox about to participate in a massive tournament in their own right. Right now they're in a big tournament in Saskatoon, but much more important is a World Cup qualifier for New Zealand that begins on Wednesday in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. Is New Zealand in that event with the likes of Canada and Argentina and need a second place or better finish to guarantee themselves a spot in next year's World Cup in Prince Albert. And it would be almost hard to imagine a world championship in men's fast-pitch softball without New Zealand. They had a tough performance in their last World Cup at home in 2022. They've won more world men's titles than any other country. So 2 strikes to Lin Chi-yoon, the catcher. Two strikes. Ya Kui Ping after a sharp single, and credit Emma Francis. Did a really nice job on the changeup to keep the ball in front of her, and with it, the runner remains at first base. 3 New Zealand runs already. This game should be very competitive. And the separator for so many teams in this sport is in the circle. Now, when it's these two teams, certainly building towards the hope of being one of the teams that'll play at the Olympics in 2028. There's a lot of rebuilding going with younger players. For the New Zealand White Sox, it's really about trying to become a true world-class team in the women's game. And as you know, in our lifetimes, the resources don't always come easily for women's sports, more so for men. But fortunately, that is really changing, and tournaments like this help. This is a long, high drive, and gone. Lin Chi-yoon has Chinese Taipei back in it with a 2-run shot to right center. And it's 3-2. Don't be surprised if this game is very high scoring. The catcher connects. Lin Chi-yoon has her second home run of the Canada Cup. She also hit a 2-run shot against Greece. That one in their lone round robin win. Second baseman Gao Pei Yun. Seen her at first this week as well. Just 19 years of age. Born in the year 2005. She's 6 for 19 in this Canada Cup. Double, homered, 3 runs batted in. And like the previous batter, her home run also came against Hong Kong, China in the round robin. And had a mighty cut at the Amy Begg pitch that time. Still only 1 out. New Zealand 3 runs on 3 hits in the first. Chinese Taipei 2 runs, 2 hits here in the bottom half of the inning. And the changeup again misses down and in the dirt. 3 balls and a strike. This youngster played in the 2021 U18 World Cup. Chinese Taipei started their season with a 6-game series back in March in Australia, where they went 1-5 against Australia. The Australians hopefully taking today to enjoy a beautiful day in this part of the world. And then tomorrow we'll jet off for Italy in the start of the World Cup. Change up, clobbered, but way foul. Pitching such a great separator in this game. It's not the only phase. And this tournament really has been very tiered. Canada, Triple Crown, Colorado, Mexico still alive, who really has gotten better and better as the week has gone on. Australia, obviously, one of the best teams in the world. And then another very small group. Really, Czechia, Israel, the Saskatchewan 222s, and then in many ways the rest. You can see the sun in the glasses out in center for Stella Jorgensen. Fights through it for the second out. So both teams hitting the ball hard off the respective pitchers. Amy Begg and Pan Yu Ling. Here's first baseman Wang Wen-sun. Number 24, 4 for 15 with a double and a run batted in. And the majority of these teams' hitting stats, not surprising, came in either the consolation round semifinal Friday or in their only win of the round robin. And this batter is no exception to that rule. So a 2-run homer off the bat of Lin Chi-yoon, the catcher, has Chinese Taipei back to within 1. Change up, well hit, but right at right fielder, Beth Reed. Both teams have come to hit, and we already have 5 runs in this consolation event final. Well, the hitters had their way in the first inning. 3 New Zealand runs. Chinese Taipei with 2 of their own at Softball City on a hot day. Well, not hot yet, but getting warmer. See if the bats stay hot. And Ruby Nola aboard. As that ball tied up, third baseman Deng Yuzhen. So an error allows Ruby Nola to get on base. As I mentioned, expect this one to be high scoring. Stella Jorgensen pulls the bat back, and it's a ball. Our first error of the game. Again, Jorgensen, this time attempts to lay it down and fouls it back to the screen. Stella Jorgensen so far in this Canada Cup. 1 for 7 with a run batted in, and that came against Greece, the team that they knocked off in the consolation semifinal, 11-1 here on Friday. So they had the day off yesterday. Here's the 1-2 pitch, and Jorgensen still showing bunt, but takes outside. Two and two. Canada to face the winner of this afternoon's next game. Triple Crown, Colorado and Mexico. It will not start at 1 o'clock. We're running behind. There was a important game in one of the other divisions, which is such a huge part and can't be forgotten about. 3 other different tournaments as part of this Canada Cup. And the first strikeout, or strikeout number 2 for Pan Yu Ling, is Stella Jorgensen goes down swinging. Beth Reed struck out, the right fielder, to lead off the game. And then New Zealand turned 3 hits into 3 runs, a pitch out. But Ruby Nola not going anywhere. A slap hit attempt by Reed goes back into the screen. Beth is now 5 for 14 in the tournament. She was 5 for 19 in the 2024 National Championships back at home earlier this year. Also played 2 years at Florida Southwestern University. And that hit her. The difference in this game will be which team's pitcher or pitchers finds a groove and gets locked in, and who will make the plays in behind them. Kiri Winyata-Inoka had the first of New Zealand's 3 hits in the top of the first inning. And now runners at first and second after Reed was hit by a pitch. and unable to get the bunt down. Bunting, I would say, still prominent in the women's part of the game. Not as much as it once was. And it seems like it's more difficult to execute. The throwback. And the second baseman, Gao Pei-Yun, did well to make sure that ball didn't get into the outfield. The 1-1 to Anoka. Takes it for a ball. Looks down to get the sign. And a quality hack from Curie on that swing. Sent it straight back. Three for 10 now in the tournament. And finds herself in a good battle with Pan Yu Ling. Two on, only one out. High fly. And Gao Pei-Yun settles under it, and there are two away. Brings to the plate the most dangerous hitter in the New Zealand lineup. Their all-star through round-robin play, Palace Potter. And she already has another hit here this morning. Won't add to her total. Chen Shi-Yen at shortstop made it look easy. So the first 0 on the board after New Zealand threatens. It's 3-2 heading to the bottom of the second. A new pitcher for New Zealand to begin the bottom of the second as Amy Begg's day looks to be over. I wonder if New Zealand throws all their pitchers in this game. The new pitcher is number 18. Parnia Monk. And has not had a lot of action in this Canada Cup. 0-1. Pitched one inning against Canada, and it was a difficult one for her. So she's back at it today. Didn't even pitch a whole lot in their national championships. And she will face Lao Pao Xu, who's the designated player for Chinese Taipei, the customary and respectful bow when you step into the batter's box. So Chinese Taipei, who received a 2-run homer from their catcher, see if they can draw even in the bottom of the second off of Parnia Monk. Yao Pao Xu, 2 for 16 so far in the tournament. 2 runs batted in, both in their last 2 games. Chinese Taipei in a very difficult pool that featured Australia, Czechia, Triple Crown Colorado, and their most difficult setback in trying to make the playoffs is when they lost 8-5 to the Saskatchewan 222s. That was the difference maker and what really propelled the young Saskatchewan 222s team, who were a late add to round out the 12-team women's international field. And boy, did they open eyes. They were 3 outs away from pulling a massive upset over Australia here a couple of days ago. But they did upset Chinese Taipei. It's a reason they find themselves in this consolation final instead of having participated in the 8-team playoff. And Parnia Monk has trouble finding the strike zone. The first batter that she has faced in this tournament in quite some time. And here's third baseman Deng Yuzhen. And a strike from Monk. "21 years of age. So far in the tournament, she's 3 for 13. Hits in her last 2 games and shows bunt. And you are asked in this sport by your coaches to bunt strikes. So she takes the pitch. Expect a lot of runs in this one. Pitching at a bit of a premium as they square off for 9th place. And down and away out of the zone from Monk. More activity already for New Zealand working down in the bullpen. And that's Brittany Terry. Two balls and a strike to the Chinese Taipei third baseman. Waits on the changeup, but hit it foul. Mentioned it earlier, both of these teams found themselves in World Cup 6-team qualifying events last year, but unable to qualify for the upcoming World Cup in Italy. They were in different groups there as well, as they were here in round-robin play. And Deng Yuzhen able to avoid being hit by the Monk pitch. Runner on, nobody out. Bottom of the second. And again, the foul on a changeup. This young batter participated and had a very, very impressive 2021 U18 World Cup tournament that was held in December of 2021. Batted .444 in that event, was 8 for 18. Goes down swinging, and a stolen base allows Liao Pao Shu to move into scoring position. So Parnia Monk has her first strikeout of the tournament. And here's Wang Yuyan, the right fielder. Chinese Taipei looking to draw even. Against a batter who is yet to deliver a hit. She's 0 for 15. This would be a great time to change that narrative. As Monk finds the inner portion of the plate with a changeup. Triple Crown, Colorado and Mexico in a semifinal next. There's only 3 teams remain in the hunt for the championship of this women's international division at the Canada Cup. Canada awaits the winner tonight at 6. If you're in the area and you have not been, highly recommend you be in here. Should be another superb couple of games. Canada will make their way tomorrow to Italy for the start of the World Cup, which is the World Championship of Women's Softball. The WBSC event in Italy. And Canada, no stranger to the facility. They were there last year. It's where they qualified. And beat Japan for the first time that I can ever remember. A 6-5 historic win for Canada over the Olympic gold medalists. And Japan, with their national team that came here last year and won the Canada Cup in quite convincing fashion. Chinese Taipei starting pitcher is up and throwing herself again to keep herself loose and ready. There is never a shortage of work with teams from Asia. 2-2. And everyone involved with New Zealand can't believe that wasn't strike 3. But it's a full count to Wang Yuyan. Chinese Taipei again electing to bring a very young, inexperienced roster to the Canada Cup. And after the non-called potential strike, that definitely was ball 4. Chen Shiyan, the shortstop. A good, slick fielder. Been a lot of really good shortstops here this week. Still only one out. Just the bottom of the second. And we're closing in on about 45 minutes of this game. A lot of base runners, a lot of activity. Hard to get outs. Good bunt. And Lucy McIntyre with an equally good turn to deliver to Winyata Inoka on the cover. So 3-4 for the out on the sacrifice. And the two base runners move up. And now an opportunity for all-star outfielder Chiang Chien to give Chinese Taipei their first lead. Change up, finds the outside corner. Parnia Monk, the second pitcher, taking over from Amy Begg, the starter, after she gave up a 2-run homer in the bottom of the first. I will not be surprised if we see every pitcher that New Zealand brought to Softball City in the game. It is their last one. And again, games like this, as much as they're about trying to win, it's far more about experience, facing better competition, helping your players grow, as they'll continue on, many of them, in international play. Not a lot of velocity for Parnia Monk. The hardest thrower in this tournament is University of Tennessee first-team All-American Carlin Pickens, who's hit the gun at 74. She might throw as hard as anyone on the planet. Two and two. Chang Xian lined out to third, back in the bottom of the first. There is a critical strikeout for New Zealand and Parnia Monk as they remain in front by a run in this consolation event final. Three-two it remains. Both teams threatened in the second, but unable to score. Unlike New Zealand, Chinese Taipei staying with number one, Pan Yu Ling. In New Zealand, with catcher Emma Francis batting in the number 4 spot in the lineup in this one. Emma was hit by a pitch her first time up today. 3 for 14 in the tournament. 3 for 12 in last summer's World Cup qualifier in Italy. And she actually had a hit and scored a run in their loss to Japan. That's always memorable. And hard to come by, I might add. Japan and the United States involved in a little 3-game series overseas in preparation for the World Cup. And I don't know when, but one of these years, both of those teams will make their way back to the Canada Cup. And if it occurs, I would highly recommend those games. I could watch them play all day, every day. So Francis grounds out. And now it's shortstop Denva Shaw Tate who laid down a 1-out sacrifice bunt. And the U.S. and Japan, big favorites to win a world championship. In Italy, there's a fine fielding play by Deng Yuzhen as she committed an earlier error, and that will help you feel better about your game. Ranged into the hole. Set her feet. Good balance to record the out. So maybe Pan Yu Ling will find a groove. That will very likely determine who wins this consolation event game. Which pitching staff or pitcher dials in, and the plays that are made in behind them. Lucy McIntyre, the first baseman. An RBI double, flared one into right that scored runs number 2 and 3, and in fact the run that still has New Zealand for now in front. And now there is some activity for Chinese Taipei. One of the two pitchers that held Triple Crown Colorado to just 4 runs in a 4-0 loss on the second last day of the round robin. 3 balls and a strike to McIntyre. 2 away, top of the third. And she fouls it to the screen. Chinese Taipei, mentioned the qualifier. They were also third-place finishers last year in the Asian Games and the Asia Cup, behind Japan and China. This year, one team from their part of the world finished ahead of them in this tournament, the Philippines. And the Philippines upset Czechia in a 3-4 playoff game by scoring 4 runs in the top of the 7th. It had to be one of the bigger wins they've had. Czechia is a country in this sport that is really on the rise. And in Veronika Pekova, one of the best pitchers that made her way here to Softball City. She throws 71 and had 43 strikeouts in the tournament. As Lace Tarniar now fouls it down the right field line. Now, it's been a difficult tournament for Lace, who batted .600 at the New Zealand National Championships earlier this year. She was the top hitter in that event, but hasn't been able to find her stroke at Softball City. Lifts it high, very playable, and that will end the inning. 3-2, New Zealand to this consolation final. 3-2. Chinese Taipei trailing. Would say they would be the favorite coming in, although both teams through 6 games, 2-4. Both went 1-4 during the course of the regular round robin. And so we shouldn't be surprised that it's a 1-run game. Parnia Monk back out to start the third. Two hits, 2 runs for Chinese Taipei. They've committed an error. New Zealand with 3 runs and 3 hits. Ya Kui Ping. And she delivered one of the 2 base hits for Chinese Taipei in the bottom of the first inning. That's where all the scoring has been to this point in time. Monk falls behind. 2 balls and no strikes. And that, a nice drop ball in the inside corner. Two balls and a strike to Ye Kui Ping, who has been one of the most consistent Chinese Taipei hitters, and this time she gets hit. And the tying run on base in left fielder Ye Kui Ping. And that may spell some trouble. There comes the magic spray. I've always wondered about the magic spray for years and years. I'm not sure if the can was used that time or not, but I do always have to chuckle, and I always refer to it as the magic spray. Certainly a coolant to try to settle any kind of bump or bruise. Well, the last time catcher Lin Chi-yun was at home plate, she delivered a 2-run homer to center field. Her second in as many games. Facing a different pitcher this time. And she had a quality cut at that, but it was high and outside. She hit it off New Zealand starter Amy Begg in the bottom of the first. Another young player. She played in the 2017 U19. It was then a world championship. And the 2021 U18 World Cup. So she must have been 15 years old when she played in that U19 event. Pretty good hitter. And this will roll just foul. Has not been the catcher in every game this week, but that's where she is today. And so much of what goes on right now in this sport on the women's side is there's an awfully big carrot coming up in 2028. It's a return again to the Olympic Games. Her second hit just punched the outside pitch into right field as Lin Chi-yun is 2 for 2 in the game with a homer and a single. And no one out for second baseman Gao Pei-yun, who flew out to center in her first at-bat. Yeah, teams have been constructed I think in no short part, is you try to build towards qualifying for the Olympics. There will be a World Games next year in China. I believe another World Cup will occur in 2027 prior to the Olympic competition, which unfortunately for the athletes isn't going to be held in Los Angeles. They're playing it in a satellite city, as great a softball park as there might be anywhere, Devon Park in Oklahoma City, the home of the College Women's World Series. But I feel for the athletes because you miss out on the entire experience. But apparently they couldn't find, seems hard to believe, a solution in the LA area. Which every time I share that story with someone, they shake their head. And I get why. I would have thought, now there are no 10 or 12,000 seat softball facilities in California, not even at UCLA or, so you understand security comes into it in a big way. But it is in that area a little hard to believe that there wouldn't be a baseball stadium that you could turn in to the softball diamond and facility for, a 3-week or couple week span. And as I tell that story, Parnia Monk with an important one-out strikeout of Gao Pei-Yun. Been a few athletes already who have come out publicly in their disappointment about that. And I get it. I'm disappointed for them. But it will be a spectacular event at a very, very special place. I was lucky enough to attend the College Women's World Series there, not this year, but last year. It'll be hot, though. Oklahoma City in late July or early August. Monk. Swung on and missed by Wang Wen Xuan, the first baseman. She lined out to right field to end the bottom of the first. Couple of strikeouts now in the game for Parnia Monk, who entered in the bottom of the second. And see if she can find a groove. It looked like Pan Yu Ling started to. Base runners for both teams in every inning. We haven't had a 1-2-3 inning yet for either side, and might not, as this is fouled away. Wang Wen Xuan. There's another opportunity for Chinese Taipei to drive in a tying run. Change up in the hole, and with the glove, the shovel from Denva Shaw Tate. That was fun to watch. And saved the tying run. And she really never hesitated either. Went over. Not sure if she had a chance to transfer to the hand and then over. You're always taking a bit of a risk when you make the play that way, but she made it and made it well. So runners at the corners now with 2 away. And the run, and no one there to take the throw. And we're tied now. As Chinese Taipei elects in the first and third play to send the runner, which happens a lot. And the throw from the catcher, Francis, was in a pretty good spot, but no one was there to cover. And these are also the situations that programs trying to get better and join better teams in the softball world, those are the separators too. And that has been very much, as well as the obviously different talent levels that certain countries have here, which, as I've mentioned earlier today, has kind of been, a 3-tiered type of tournament. But it's also about your ability not only to get the job done with physical tools, but how you think your way through the game and execute. And that takes time. And it's always harder to do in pressure and situations against better competition than what a lot of these women face back home in their own countries. And there's a good swing from the designated player, Liao Pao Shu, who walked, stole a base, and was stranded in the bottom of the second. So on an error, Chinese Taipei is drawn even at 3 apiece in this game to decide 9th place. And Monk limits the damage with a good rise ball that was swung on and missed. 3-3 after 3 at Softball City. Pan Yu Ling, 3 innings pitched, about to work her 4th consecutive inning, giving up 3 runs on 3 hits, and they all occurred back in the top of the first. So she has settled in on a throwing error, on a steal attempt. Chinese Taipei has tied the game at 3. Mexico, Triple Crown, Colorado, as we're down to the final 3 in the main event. And Canada awaits the winner in tonight's championship final, slated for 6 o'clock. In case you missed it, and you're from Canada, they have had 2 terrific playoff games. Friday night went to a second extra inning to down Australia 4-3. And last night, trailed Triple Crown Colorado in a battle of unbeatens 3-1 going into the 6th inning. And a grand slam home run from newcomer C.C. Wong. The huge blow. She is in her first tour of duty with the national women's team. She's from nearby Port Coquitlam and hit a shot to dead center that sent a big crowd into a frenzy. And Canada scored 5 times. Morgan Rackle came on and threw a couple of innings of great relief. And the other interesting thing about that game last night is Canadian head coach Kaylee Rafter, with obviously the big part of this is preparing her team for the upcoming World Cup. Until Rackle pitched in the 6th, Canada didn't use any of their top 3 pitchers. Started with newcomer who has made the Canadian 16-player roster, Katie Korstrom. Then it was 20-year-old Nicola Simpson. And even 23-year-old Hudson Bay product, Brooke Melnichuk, came in and did a nice job. She did give up a 2-run single that propelled Triple Crown Colorado to a 3-1 lead. But then 3 straight hits, couple of outs, and with the bases loaded on an 0-2 pitch, CeCe Wong hit a grand slam. And the other interesting thing about CeCe Wong is this ball hit by Stella Jorgensen down the line with 1 out, is the fact she was named the most improved player in all of NCAA Division I softball. She batted .470 at Wichita State. Pretty nice when you can add somebody like her, obviously a bit of a late bloomer. Hadn't played for the country in a U18 event. Kind of has come out of nowhere. Stella Jorgensen, they asked if she went around, and the home plate umpire said no. So 1 out as this game continues for 9th place. And a couple of strikes to Stella Jorgensen, the center fielder, on the ground. And a rare infield error. Chinese Taipei, generally a pretty good fielding team over the years. Although, to reiterate, they've left a number of key performers at home. And that's actually their 2nd error of the game on the infield. This one committed by the second baseman, Gao Pei-yun. So Jorgensen aboard on the error. And Beth Reed was hoping to move a runner in from second. She's not getting the opportunity. The star of this show today has been the catcher, Lin Chi-yun. 2-run homer, had another base hit, and I'm not sure you could have walked to second. Well, you could have put it in a slightly better spot upon second glance. But good enough and a strong enough throw to get Jorgensen attempting to steal. So now no one on for Beth Reed, and she'll be on now. Goes the other way and flares it into left. As New Zealand has their first hit since 3 of them in the top of the 1st. And for Beth Reed, that's her 6th hit of the Canada Cup. Kiri Winyata Inoka. Not sure if there's any relation to the Inokas on the men's side of the game, and that's a very prominent name for the New Zealand Black Sox, their national men's team. Thomas and Ben about to participate for New Zealand in next week's World Cup qualifier in Prince Albert. There'll be a lot of people tuning in to watch the Black Sox, who suffered a very disappointing 7th place finish at home at the 2022 World Men's, and can't really conceivably think about a World Championship without them in it. They're in a group with Canada and Argentina and 3 other countries that they should handle: Israel, Singapore, and Hong Kong, China. But you need to finish in the top 2 to guarantee yourself a spot, if you're that New Zealand team, a spot also in Prince Albert in next year's true World Cup, just not a qualifier. The Dominican Republic and Australia have already earned berths as a result of a qualifier a few weeks ago in Mexico, where the average daily temperature in Hermosillo was 44. And I'm not kidding, 44. Average. One day it was 47. They were taking water breaks every couple of innings. It'll be warm next week in Prince Albert. Not like that. But it is supposed to be up around 30 daily when that tournament starts. Kiri Winyata Inoka goes down looking. In a 3-3 tie in this battle for the consolation event prize at the Canada Cup.
Welcome to the 2024 Canada Cup, brought to you by the Canadian Amateur Sports Society. Our not-for-profit organization is dedicated to ensuring that every deserving child can fully enjoy camps without any limitations. Join us in making a difference. Sign up for these life-changing camps or become a sponsor today. Together, let's celebrate the unifying power of sport. Visit CanadaCup.com to learn more and support.
A 3-3 tie as Chinese Taipei comes to bat in the bottom of the 4th inning. A lot of activity on the base pass. 5 runs in the first, only 1 since. Third baseman Deng Yuzhen, who struck out her first time up and now facing the 3rd New Zealand pitcher of record. Her name is Brittany Terry. Brittany is from Christchurch, New Zealand. Has pitched just 1 inning so far in the tournament. Game against Canada. First game for New Zealand. In fact, on Canada Day afternoon, a Canadian 9-0 5-inning victory, where Katie Korstrom pitched all 5 innings. She is a newcomer to the national women's team and has really put on a good show here. 22 years of age is Korstrom from Abbotsford. And when the Canadian 16-player roster was named the other day, she's on it. And she will likely get some work at that World Cup, along with the other pitchers, Don Bodrug, who could very easily get the start tonight in the final. Sarah Groenwagen, who's been a long-time key member of the pitching staff, took a year off after being a massive contributor to the Canadian women's team for many years. Hasn't really been able to completely find her form. And Morgan Rackle, who the last 2 games, the 26-year-old from Calgary, has really pitched well here. Into the hole, Inoka did well with a tough little hop at the end. Good play by Kiri Winyata Inoka. And 1 out in the bottom of the 4th inning. Brittany Terry pitched for New Zealand at the U19 World Cup, which was staged, hard to believe, 5 years ago now, in Irvine, California. She was 2-0 in that event. It was a good quality cut by right fielder Wang Yu Yen, who walked her first time today. And still hitless. 0 for 15. Would consider Lauren Parker as New Zealand's best, and then maybe the woman in the circle right now, from what I've seen this week. Charlotte Graham is an up-and-comer, too. Decent contact, but Wang Yuyen still looking for hit number 1, and there's 2 away. Chen Xiyan, the stop. She's a slick fielder. Ball hasn't been hit in her direction outside of 1 time today over a shortstop. Made a good play on it. And this is a mile high in the sun. Not how you would draw it up. And it's difficult over there right now. Lucy McIntyre. When it ends like that, you're happy the ball's where it needs to be. To the 5th we go at Softball City. Well, the best hitter all week long for New Zealand. In fact, she was named to the All-Star team yesterday for her work in the round robin is Palace Potter. She has a single, she scored a run, and she grounded out to short, and then, surprising even to me, looked like she might try to get a board on a bunt. 4 hits for New Zealand, the 3 runs. They've committed 1 error. Chinese Taipei, 3 runs, 3 hits, including a 2-run homer. They've committed 2 errors. Pan Yu Ling has gone the distance to this point. There's some more activity again for Chinese Taipei warming up. Frankly, in those countries, the work never really stops for anyone. Potter hit it well, not well enough. His all-star outfielder, Chang Chi-yen, calls off the right fielder and makes a good play. She had to go a pretty good distance to catch this one. And you can see the sun off the sunglasses. Not easy out there right now. Although, what does help at least is it's not sun coming through cloud. There aren't any. Emma Francis hit by a pitch. She scored and then grounded back to the pitcher. Her next time up. Game is finally settled in a little. Base hit. Emma Francis finds the hole between third and short. And the New Zealand catcher is the go-ahead runner at first base. That's Emma's 4th hit of the Canada Cup. Shortstop Denva Shaw Tate lays down another sacrifice bunt. That's her 2nd of the game. And New Zealand, whether it's no one out or 1 out, have not wasted time moving runners into scoring position. And Lucy McIntyre comes to bat in this all-important spot in the 5th inning. Lucy officially 1 for 1 with a walk and 2 runs batted in on a flare that found green grass down the right field side. Back in the 1st. Can she cash in another? Key spot in the game. 9th place. The consolation event final is what you're watching. The best of the day yet to come. As the top 3 teams will fight it out in 2 games after this one to determine the Canada Cup champ. Canada will participate in the final. They're a perfect 7-0. Triple Crown Colorado has lost just once. They'll face Mexico for a 2nd time in the tournament. They beat Mexico in their first playoff game here 5-2. And then Mexico with what would be considered a bit of an upset, not huge. But they've really revamped their lineup, Team Mexico, with all their United States college additions with Mexican heritage. It's a far superior lineup to the one that they brought to the Canada Cup last year when they went 3-6. And that'll be an interesting, if you will, semifinal as McIntyre fouls it off herself. Not right off her own instep that time. Ouch. Ball and 2 strikes, 2 out. New Zealand trying to regain the lead. Had a 3-0 lead after the top of the first. Catcher set up way outside, hit her glove, but not the strike zone. Lucy McIntyre. Can she add to what's already been a good day at home plate? Just out of play. McIntyre's hit in the first inning, just her second to the Canada Cup. Officially now 2 for 8. Played here in 2019, including their warm-up game. She batted .300. 8 for 25 back home earlier this year in their national championships. She's from Canterbury. And every Chinese Taipei supporter in the crowd thought that the inning was over. It is not. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and the go-ahead run at second. In catcher Emma Francis, who's being pinch run for now with 2 out. Right at the center fielder. Inning over. She couldn't have been positioned any better. Back with the bottom half of the inning right after this. It remains 3-3. Chinese Taipei trailed 3-0. Received a 2-run homer from their catcher, Lin Chi-Yun. As they look to forge ahead for the first time in the bottom of the 5th. They have been out-hit 5-3 by New Zealand. Bunt, and a good one. All-star outfielder Chang Ji-yen has yet another hit. It's her 11th of the Canada Cup. Even if the throw is where it needed to be, that bunt was more than good enough. So Chinese Taipei, with their best hitter, with great speed over at first, in Chang Ji-yen. And they would certainly, I think, ask and do Ya Kui Ping to bunt. She has singled and was hit by a pitch in the 3rd. Can you execute? Brittany Terry remains in the circle, her 2nd inning. And Lauren Parker starts to warm. Steal attempt. Stolen base. She does it all for this team. Good outfielder, has great speed. She just showed it off. 11 hits in 23 official at-bats for Chiang Ji-yen. And the go-ahead run in scoring position, still no one out. Do they continue to sacrifice? Didn't look like it. But the pitch, a changeup from Terry, is high and out of the zone. Triple Crown, Colorado, Mexico to follow in a semifinal affair. The winner of that to play Canada Cup. Host team Canada for the title in 2024. This hit well off the bat, but didn't really carry. Looked like it might have more when it left the bat. The catch is made out in left field by Ruby Nola. And there's one away. And they're not even going to take a chance. 2 for 2 with a home run. Base open. Lin Chi-yoon, the catcher, draws a free pass. And in this sport, you don't have to throw the ball. You just have to tell the umpire to send her to first. So an important spot for Gao Pei-yoon, who's 0 for 2 in the contest. And a strike from Brittany Terry. So Amy Begg, Parnia Monk, and Brittany Terry. And we will have a runner for the catcher. Now it comes with less than 2 out, so if there were 2 out, you could do it for free. You have a courtesy runner option. This one makes it different in terms of substitutions and keeping your catcher in. But even with 1 out, Lin Pei-chun, the head coach of Chinese Taipei, wants, maybe if nothing else, his catcher to take a breather and get ready for the next inning defensively. You get the sense this one could go a long way in deciding the game, this half inning. And almost hit the coach. Gao Pei-yoon has flown out to center and struck out. The strikeout came against pitcher number 2 of the day for New Zealand, Parnia Monk. Now Charlotte Graham working for New Zealand. Lauren Parker probably ready to come in if needed. Thought we might see all 5 in the final game for both of these teams at Softball City, regardless of the outcome. So why not give your players some reps? Terry misses outside. Brittany Terry spent 1 year, in fact, the COVID year, at Salt Lake Community College. Well foul. Almost found a garbage bin. What she really wants is to find something in fair territory. 2-2 to second baseman Gao Pei-yoon in a 3-3 tie. And able to lay off the rise ball from Brittany Terry. Pitched 21 innings at Salt Lake Community College back in 2020. She also played for her country in two. It used to be known as the World Junior. Now it's a U19 World Cup. In fact, it isn't. Now it's a U18 World Cup. She played in two U19 World Championships for New Zealand. The payoff pitch. Gao Pei-Yun will have another crack. Important at bat at Softball City in this tussle for 9th place. It's the consolation final. And it has delivered about exactly what I would have expected going in. Ball 4. Base is loaded, and are we going to see Lauren Parker? Not yet. Base is loaded. Back-to-back walks, and now first baseman Wang Wen Xuan. She's 0 for 2 in the game, grounded in to a fielder's choice situation her last time. Terry delivers strike 1. Game might be decided right here in this half inning. Still a long way to go, but here is a glorious opportunity for Chinese Taipei to assert themselves. Most of us expected them to be in the final 8. They were trying a suicide squeeze. And now the runners have to all scramble back. It's hard to imagine, and they end up scoring a run? Hold it for a minute. Let's get another look. So I thought the play was over. Okay, so here's the rundown. Luciano, if you can, just let it go as long as it can. So now the runners go back. What I didn't even see in real time, did they call obstruction? I don't think she ever came home. Well, we're going to have a video review. It's something that's been added this year. And I might even myself have to receive some clarification at what they're looking at. Well, I saw number 10 go into the dugout. She was the original player, Chang Ji-yen, caught in that rundown. Is there or isn't there a review? And I never did see the run score. But right now, in a scenario where I thought there would still be runners at third, second, and first, I don't see anybody at first. So I'm confused. And we will have a review. And I'll take the opportunity to make my way off microphone and see exactly what this review is about. Be back in just a second. So what they are looking at is after the rundown, and Chang Ji-yen diving back, didn't see it on the screen, but the ball apparently went into the dugout. And when the ball goes in the dugout, that's how the runner at third would get the free pass home. And they're still looking. So a missed attempt on a suicide squeeze. And I'm not sure if we can show you the picture. But we hope to give you a look at what they are looking at. Because I have seen one angle. So the ball right there is spilt. But we don't necessarily have the angle yet for you. What is being talked about is when the ball is tracked down by the third baseman, Lace Tarniarnauer, did it get into the dugout? We don't quite have that angle available for you because they're using it to look at it on the review. So another lengthy review in this 3-3 or maybe 4-3. And we still await. So bases loaded, one out, a missed suicide squeeze. The runner was coming all the way home. New Zealand fails to execute on the rundown to get the runner on her way back to third. The other two runners had to scramble all the way back because in that situation with the bases loaded, generally two runners are standing, sometimes on the same and occupying the same bag. That's an out. So are we going to go back to the original or do we have a run? Now there are runners at first and second, and I apologize for any of the confusion, but it's difficult to not only sometimes see enough angles, but when you're working on your own, you're close enough to it to hear, but not necessarily be able to hear exactly what's being discussed. So now the run has been taken off the board. And now the translator is out to help Chinese Taipei's head coach on the explanation. So I'm going to take another break and get an explanation if I can, so I can share it. So thanks to the fine gentlemen in the review committee who were kind enough to share with me, after taking a long look, they rule that the ball was not completely out of play, which means there's still one out, the bases are loaded, and it's still 3-3. And that's a ball to the batter, Wang Wen Xuan, who failed to deliver on a suicide bunt attempt. The rundown, the spilled play at third, and then the ball almost rolled officially out of play but didn't quite get there. And we couldn't show you, but I did see an angle myself up here in the booth where it was very, very close. It was like the ball was almost half in and half out, which leaves it in. So after all of that, Brittany Terry with her biggest pitch and a strikeout for the second out. And the bases remain loaded for Liao Pao Shu, whose walk, stolen a base, was stranded at third and struck out. There has not been one simple review yet. And I know why, but not really my place to share. It's very difficult in a lot of other situations, so I guess I will share a little bit. You have lots and lots of different angles. You don't always have enough of the right angles here. It just isn't enough looks from enough places. Like when things are reviewed. But part of growing, trying to get things right, is to do it sometimes, get it right, when you don't have the most optimal situation. And that isn't anyone's fault. That's just the reality. This is not an 8 or 9 camera production. It isn't. And in fact, what gets done here by 1 and 2 people is some of the best work in the business I've ever seen. Doing the work of 7 and 8 people. It's incredible. It really is. But it's very difficult when you don't have not just the looks, but just the whole setup for all of it. But video review was brought in, and it's been helpful this week. But it, like I said, and it isn't on anyone else. Every time there's been one, the decisions have been not crystal clear. What's crystal clear now, though, is New Zealand has worked their way out of a massive jam. It remains 3-3.
Welcome to the 2024 Canada Cup, brought to you by the Canadian Amateur Sports Society. Our not-for-profit organization is dedicated to ensuring that every deserving child can fully enjoy multi-day sports camps without any limitations. Join us in making a difference. Sign up for these life-changing camps or become a sponsor today. Together, let's celebrate the unifying power of sport.
Well, after a controversial play in the last half inning, it's 3-3, and Lace Tarniarnor pops up on the first pitch from Pan Yu Ling for out number 1. The left fielder is Ruby Nola. Ruby is 0 for 2 on the afternoon. We're still left in a situation with plenty to decide in this consolation final. And now I'm guessing will probably be a little later than hoped for well, we're already past 1 o'clock. And it's good organizing when you kind of leave that gap on the final day between a semifinal and a final. The final, which will feature Canada, and then the winner of our next game, which will start probably half an hour after this game is over, between Mexico and Triple Crown Colorado, who's made it to the final the last 2 consecutive Canada Cups, only to lose to the United States national team in 2022 and then to the Japanese national team in 2023. This is not an easy play for second baseman Gao Pei Yun. And Ruby Nola finds herself at first base on the 6th New Zealand hit of the morning and now afternoon. This game started, and it started late, in the neighborhood of about 11:15. So a base hit for Ruby Nola. And they've done it all game long, New Zealand. Whether it's no one out or 1 out with a runner at first, they've look to sacrifice and move somebody over. And Stella Jorgensen has that task here in the top of the 6th. They'll go to second. And the throw is errant. It's funny, one of the reasons I fell in love, a huge reason in fact, is as a young person growing up, I was lucky enough to get involved with a high-level Canadian senior women's team called the Saskatoon Harmony Centers, who won a couple of Canadian championships in 1978 and again in 1980. And their head coach was a gentleman by the name of Bob Stainer. And when that throw was made, I could feel Bob's presence from above. He always preached to his great teams, make sure you get an out. So it's fine to go there in that situation, but if you do, you need to execute. And frankly, one of the reasons the Saskatoon Harmony Centers were such a power in Canada at the senior women's level for 5 and 6 years is they didn't beat themselves very often. And I thought of Bob immediately when that throw went into center field. So an error charge to the third baseman, and runners at first and second, still with 1 out. So the trend continues. They want to move runners over. Beth Reed is the batter, the New Zealand right fielder. And the throw gets away again. And New Zealand takes the lead. When you put balls in play, you force people to make plays. Sometimes difficult for a left-handed pitcher on bunt attempts because, as you just saw, now you have to turn your body around and try to be on balance to make the throw. I think I just heard Bob again. New Zealand in front, 4-3. Chinese Taipei had the bases loaded, couldn't score. Controversial play that looked like New Zealand was in a lot of trouble, but they got away with a mishap and a delivery from Kiri Winiata Inoka. And she slides in safely at second. Run batted in for Kiri Winiata Inoka. And New Zealand leads by 2. And it's been the defensive miscues, 4 of them, that have really hurt. And now we will have a pitching change. Well, buckle in. We could be here for a while. New Zealand 5, Chinese Taipei. We'll tell you about the new pitcher when we take a short break and come back to Softball City. New pitcher into work for Chinese Taipei as the day is over for Pan Yu Ling, who goes 5 1/3, gives up 5 runs on 7 hits, but her team committed 4 errors behind her. 3 of those errors in this 6th inning. And now it's Chu Wei Shan. And she has the difficult Palace Potter to deal with. So failure to execute, then a big RBI single from Kiri Winiata Inoka, as they've scored twice and in position to add more. Runners at third and second, and still only 1 out. And the person you'd want in this situation, the out at home after the error on the original play, as the throw is in the dirt. But good presence by Wang Wenxuan to come home to nail Beth Reed trying to score from third. Well, it's not going down in the softball handbook for cleanly played. But again, it's what makes it exciting. It's how programs that aren't quite at the highest of standard against other countries, continue to grow and learn and get better. It's all part of it. But it's been a very difficult fielding day for Chinese Taipei. And generally, in the past, that's always been one of their strengths. Japan, nobody does it better defensively, probably ever in the sport. And a lot of it is because of their work. Even last year when Japan was here, they'll work for 2 and 3 hours before games even start. Talking about Japan, one of the neatest things I was ever able to experience, not just watching them in person, but I remember going back to the 2002 World Women's Championships in Saskatoon. I couldn't wait to get to the park to watch them take infield and outfield. It might have been one of the most fun parts of that whole great tournament, won by Lisa Fernandez and Jenny Finch, Jessica Mendoza, and the rest of Team USA, who beat Japan in the final. This ball is caught. A miserable top of the sixth for Chinese Taipei is over. But it feels good if you're New Zealand. You have a 2-run lead in this consolation final. See if Chinese Taipei can reset after an inning in which they committed 3 errors and gave up 2 runs and trail 5-3. Brittany Terry shaking out her hands. Seemed like something is bothering her. Pitchers in this sport get troubled a lot by blisters. Over the years, I've seen a lot of Gorilla Glue to keep key pitching fingers on pitching hands in okay enough shape to be able to do it. It happens more than you'd think. So 2 balls and no strikes. There's third baseman Deng Yuzhen. Can New Zealand put Chinese Taipei away? As people have filed in anticipation of this women's division semifinal game between Triple Crown Colorado and Mexico. Anoka in time. She looked like she was actually leaning the other way and then recovered well enough to launch her body back, knock it down, stay with it, and record the out. Nicely done. So it's, and the throw actually brought the first baseman up a little bit, but back down. No review. So there's one out for right fielder Wang Yuyen. High in the air. Ruby Nola camps under it. And in 3 pitches, there are 2 out. And that has been a rare occurrence in this game. Has to be difficult. They've committed 5 errors. It was Chinese Taipei who had the bases loaded themselves with only 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. Tried a suicide squeeze, got caught in a rundown. The runner did get back. The ball was spilled, almost went into the dugout. In fact, the 4-3 run was up on the board, but the review committee looked, decided the ball wasn't completely out of play, reset everything, and then Brittany Terry in New Zealand got out of it. And then it got messy in their favor in the top of the 6th. Other than that, nothing's happened. This is in a gap. And smartly, Lin Pei Chun, the head coach, holds shortstop Chen Shi-yen with a 2-out double. The last thing you want to do is make a 3rd out of an inning at third base. And you're not the most important run. You need runners when you trail by more than 1. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Straight from the Situation Room. So 2 out, runner in scoring position, change up, strike. And now Chinese Taipei with their best player and best hitter. Singled last time. She has 11 hits in the tournament. Chang Ji-en. Ball and a strike to the Chinese Taipei center fielder, named to the All-Star team after the round robin. And officially now in the tournament is 11 for 23. See if she can draw her team and country back to within a single run. Brittany Terry and New Zealand have other ideas. And Brittany delivers. Pitched it, fielded it, through to first. New Zealand 5, Chinese Taipei 3 after 6 in this never boring consolation final. Well, the relief pitcher, Yu Pan Ling, went 5 1/3 before giving way to Chu Yi Shan. Came in and finally shut the door in a messy, it's the only word I can think of, maybe a few others, top of the 6th. Now she needs to hold to give her team a chance to come back in the bottom of the 7th. Change of pace, but one with some rise action to it, as she faces shortstop Denva Shaw Tate, who is officially 0 for 1, and she's laid down a pair of sacrifice bunts. As the catcher turns around and asks if the pitch was up, and the home plate umpire says yes. Ball and 2 strikes to Denva Shaw Tate. Pitcher Yi Shan Chu. And she was impressive, certainly in a game earlier this week versus Triple Crown Colorado. The only team prior to last night's game versus Canada to hold that stellar group of college all-stars to only 4 runs. Canada managed to limit them to 3 last night. In a 6-3 win, what an exciting game it was. And we may be in for one just like it, maybe involving the same 2 teams in the tournament finale. A 43-mile-an-hour change that, if you're the batter, feels like it's never going to get to home plate, but it was a ball. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Denva Shaw Tate. Strike 3. Almost a perfect pitch. Inside corner. In on your hands if you elected to swing, which she did not. Hard to hit. So there's 1 out. And here's Lucy McIntyre, who has delivered a 2-run double today. New Zealand jumped out on that double to an early 3-0 lead. Chinese Taipei came back to tie it, and then you-know-what broke out in the 6th. And McIntyre sends it straight back. Just received the lineup for the next game. And an interesting pitching decision for Mexico. But we'll save that until later, because I'm really probably not supposed to tell anyone. Ball and 2 strikes for Lucy McIntyre from Canterbury. Catcher wants it inside. It was inside, and it was a changeup. Triple Crown, Colorado, Mexico. As 3 teams remain in the hunt for the Canada Cup title in 2024. This tournament, a great one, with more than just the women's international division, has been running and running well for more than 2 decades. So a couple of quick strikeouts back to back for the new pitcher. And looking a lot like she did earlier in the week against Triple Crown Colorado. In fact, Chu Yi Shan entering the day, 16 and a third innings, 0-2 the record, gave up 9 hits, 9 runs on 20 hits, and her toughest outing was 4 and a third against Australia, but she threw 2 very good innings on July 2nd against Triple Crown Colorado. Did not give up a hit in those 2 innings. Just trying to give her team a chance and working on it. 2 away and a strike. To pinch hitter, Kiara Taimai. This Taimai hitting in place of Lace Tarniaro. Tarniarnar is what I was instructed by someone from New Zealand. I've tried it a lot. Apologize, haven't been all that successful with it. Tarniarnar. Ball and 2 strikes to Taimai. Much easier. And Kiara stays alive. New Zealand, 5 runs, 7 hits. They've benefited greatly from 5 Chinese Taipei errors. One, two, three, go the Kiwis in the top of the inning. We'll see if they can close it and win this consolation final on a hot day in Surrey, British Columbia. The final one of the Canada Cup.
Welcome to the 2024 Canada Cup, brought to you by the Canadian Amateur Sports Society. Our not-for-profit organization is dedicated to ensuring that every deserving child can fully enjoy multi-day sports camps without any limitations. Join us in making a difference. Sign up for these life-changing camps or become a sponsor today. Together, let's celebrate the unifying power of sport. Visit CanadaCup.com to learn more and support our mission. Welcome to the 20...
Chinese Taipei 1-4 in the round robin. Did not qualify for the 8-team main playoff event. Found themselves in the consolation round. Won their consolation semifinal. And now, do they have a comeback in them against Brittany Terry, who's been very good. She's the 3rd pitcher to work, came in earlier in the game. Amy Beggs started. Parnia Monk went a couple, and she's put up nothing but zeros since entering the game. It hasn't always been easy, but she's been able to do it. A drive to right center for Ye Kui Ping, who doubles to begin the bottom of the 7th, pardon me. And who's coming to the plate? The catcher. 2 for 2, homered, back in the first, singled, and they wanted nothing to do with her last time with a base open. They walked her intentionally. You could do it again, but I understand in this situation, I will say this. If there were 2 out instead of no one out, I know where she'd probably be. So more intrigue, which really only fits the rest of the 2.5 hours that we've witnessed so far. Change up. Ball and a strike to catcher, the dangerous Lin Chi-Yoon, who has homered in her last 2 games. Would I be shocked if she did it again? Not after what I've seen today or this week. Gets under this one. But it's not routine. And it's dropped. And it's thrown away. Almost went into the dugout again. It didn't. And now there's runners at second and third with no one out. It only figures. It really does. So it's difficult. Son, Stella Jorgensen, that's her ball, the center fielder. She didn't get a great jump. Actually scored a hit. It'll be a double for Lin Chi-Yoon, who's 3 for 3. A double, a 2-run homer, and a single. If she gets to bat again, she just might have a chance to bat for the cycle and a pitching change. So Brittany Terry came in and gave New Zealand a fine effort today and gives way to Lauren Parker. And I would have considered Parker to probably be their number 1 pitcher from looking at previous world-type events for New Zealand. She's 28 from Auckland, New Zealand. Pitched in last year's World Cup qualifier in an event that included Canada and Italy. She has pitched 8 innings in this Canada Cup, given up 12 runs on 11 hits, struck out 7, and walked 5. She was the star pitcher at the New Zealand National Championships back in February. She was 5-0, pitched 20 1/3, a 0.34 earned run average, and struck out 25. Well, she's facing much different competition here. So they've called on what I would suggest is as good as any in the stable. But she finds herself in a very difficult spot. No one out. Tying run at second. Also, a runner at third for second baseman Gao Pei Yun. And Parker's pitch in the dirt, but handled nicely by catcher Emma Francis. As the head coach goes through a series of signs, I don't think you bunt here. Can't see why. To third, Tarni Arnauer. And there's one away. As Lace has re-entered the game back at third. She was pinch hit for her last time due up in the order. And here's first baseman Wang Wen Xuan. And she was at home plate in the controversial moment in the fifth when the bases were loaded with one out. She tried and missed on a suicide squeeze situation. Runner caught. New Zealand couldn't execute on the rundown. The ball at first was thought to have completely left the playing field. Long review, didn't. Runners back. New Zealand got out of the jam. They're in a very similar position again, and they've taken, thanks to new pitcher Lauren Parker, the first step on the ground ball to third. Triple Crown, Colorado and Mexico in a semifinal to play Canada in the championship game. That's on the way next in a Lauren Parker gem of an off-speed pitch that was swung on and missed. Two balls and a strike. The batter is 0 for 3 on the day. And Parker gets the call on the outside corner. Lots of Chinese Taipei supporters in attendance. And I know there's a number from New Zealand here as well. An interesting looking changeup, but it misses. And now the count is full to Wang Wenxuan. Wind blowing out. Not a strong wind, but enough if you get it up to make a difference. Through the hole. But they're going to hold the runner. And it was a good decision. It's 5-4. On the RBI single, her first hit of the day for Wang Wenxuan. A quality throw in from right fielder Beth Reed. Still one out. Now there's runners at first and third. Do you send the runner? Not on the first pitch. Here it comes. I would make and I don't bet, so it wouldn't be much of a wager, but I know if I'm in the third base coaching box, the runner's on her way. They try to bunt. That one would have not been in my vernacular. I'm letting this hitter hit. But they will play a lot of small ball. And now there's 2 strikes on Lau Pao Shu. Gets away from the catcher. We're tied. And the runner's at third. And Lauren Parker's hurt, the pitcher. Looks like she jammed her knee going to cover. It's 5-5. And she's going to need some help to get off the field. That's sad to see. So it gets away, the pass ball charged, and not exactly sure how it happened. I don't know if it's how she planted, probably on her first or second step, because she never did make it to home. And it's 5-5. And pitcher number 5 of the game about to work Charlotte Graham. One thing about sports, anytime you think you've seen everything, you're always going to get a new adventure to think about, and in this case, be lucky enough to talk about. Well, I don't know if Charlotte Graham has ever been thought of as the wild thing, but she comes into that introduction music that was made famous probably more years ago than I'd ever want to think about right now in the movie Major League. This game nearing the 3-hour mark. It had that feeling very early. Well, it's been entertaining. It's not going to show up in many how-to videos. It's been fun. And we still have a chapter left. So 1 out. The winning run is at third. Do they try and bunt her home again? The batter is number 19. Still at bat, because remember, it was the pass ball that scored the run. And by the time they tracked it, Wang Wen Xuan all the way from first to third. Swing and a miss, and somebody missed a sign. The runner was on her way. And there's 2 out. So Charlotte Graham comes in a 1-2 count after an injury as the pitcher, Lauren Parker, got hurt after throwing the pitch, and then she jammed something trying to cover home plate after the pass ball. Now they'll put Deng Yuzhen on. And here's right fielder Wang Yu-yen. 2 out. Have they called time? Or no, they're going to walk the bases full. All right. I got it. So they want the number 9 hitter. But what they really wanted, New Zealand, was an opportunity to have a force play at every bag with 2 out. Is this thing headed, after all of this, to extra innings? Well, shortstop Chen Shi-yen, who has a base hit today. A lot of batters start showing bunt. It's a timing mechanism. And takes from pitcher Charlotte Graham. Not even here, I don't think, is this team going to bunt. Bases loaded. 5-5, bottom of the 7th. Ball 2. You can't walk in the winning run after all of this, can you? In some ways, it would be a somewhat likely ending if you've seen any of this wild storybook game. Ball 3. And you can tell as Charlotte Graham, who's a young pitcher, she's just 22, you can tell if you've been around the game long enough when you're just trying to aim it or pitch it. She has to come back with a strike. And this is take all the way for the batter. She delivered one. Now I'm even nervous, and I couldn't care less about the outcome. 3 balls and a strike. Found the strike zone again. This is something. That's why you love sports. The greatest drama in life, greatest theater. The payoff. On the way. Ball 4. Chinese Taipei, 3 in the bottom of the 7th, as I feel terribly for Charlotte Graham. Threw 2 strikes after 3 consecutive balls and walks in the winning run. Well, we'll put that one in the memory book, and it'll stay for a while. That's for 9th place. We're still really here to show you the creme de la creme. Mexico, Triple Crown, Colorado in a playoff rematch in probably half an hour from now. Hope you'll join us then. So long from Softball City.